Welcome back! Today on Dialed In DIY, we're making a really cool version of slime that looks like something straight out of a sci-fi or a superhero movie. Yeah, it might look crude or just like a blob of oil, but this is what it will do. It's actually a dialed in version of the previous slime video I did that showed you 4 different ways to make slime, including one that glows in the dark. This time, it jumps out at you though. I did go ahead and include the link to the previous video in the description below because that's what we're building on today. We're going to use the ingredients that you see here and we're going to make 3 different versions of it, and anytime you see a liquid component, it's all going to be equal parts of about 1/4 cup each. This time, we're going to start with version number 1, the basic magnet slime batch, and we're going to start with 1/4 cup of white craft glue. I've made several different versions of magnetic responsive slime in the past, including using just general metal filings, but this time I took it a step further because I wanted a pure black tar looking effect, so I'm going with 2 tablespoons of iron oxide in this first version that we're making. I actually bought the iron oxide powder online through Amazon out of an idea that was inspired from a ferrofluid project that I was working on. So you want to make sure that is actually mixed in really well before you get to this portion of the project, which we're going to add 1/4 cup of liquid starch. We're going to begin stirring really quick because it's going to start to clump up pretty soon after you pour it in there. So as you're looking at this, you may be thinking, it doesn't look like it's really working out, but bear with me. That's the same thought I had when I was doing this the first time, but that fluid that you see that doesn't look like it's mixing in is actually going to get absorbed. And to help make sure it works that way, we're going to grab a couple pair of disposable gloves and get our hands right in there and turn this into a blob of glue, just like we're working with some bread dough. Keep mixing it together, mashing it up, and everything gets absorbed. It's recommended that you let it sit for about 10 minutes or so that it kind of sets a little better. But I usually can't wait that long, so I went ahead and grabbed a neodymium or rare earth magnet and started testing this batch out. It's actually quite a lot of fun already, and the batch isn't even fully set yet. You'll notice that all you have to do is actually get the magnet close, and the slime is going to just jump out at it. Once it makes contact, it's actually going to keep pulling up and start covering up and over the magnet. It's pretty fun and interesting to watch happen. Does definitely remind me of some movies I've seen in the past, though. The cool thing is, once this set, it really doesn't leave much of a mess, and it's easy just to slide it right back off the magnet. Moving on to batch number 2, we're going to try to make it replicating the same type we did in the slime time video where I made glow-in-the-dark slime, and we're going to use equal parts of glue and water. You may recall that in the glow slime version, we made a DIY version of our catalyst out of borax, but this time we are going to go ahead and stick with the liquid starch because that means we can continue to use equal parts of all of our fluids. That means for this version number 2, everything that we did in batch number 1 is the exact same, except this time we added the water too. So all that means is the rest of this is going to look very familiar. We added our iron oxide, we did our stirring, and now we're going to add our liquid starch and stir that up as well. The one key difference you're going to notice pretty quick with this version is that it retains a pretty good fluid-like consistency. It looks a lot more like oil or tar, something really thick that is more oozy and runny. If you look at the inset picture on the left, it has a really cool effect when you let it run out of your hand. Because this version is a lot more fluid-like, you have some different things you can do with it. I broke off a bunch of little pieces and let it ooze into a bottle and sealed it back up to shake it around a little bit and experimented with some magnets just for fun. If you want more of an effect out of your ooze, get more magnets or bigger magnets and just add them together and keep playing. To get it back out of the bottle, the best way to do it is just turn the bottle sideways, let it flatten back out, and then try to pour it out or slowly spin it out. So that you could really see what this does, I wanted to give you a much better view. I took a piece of acrylic, put some magnets on top of it, and got a close-up angle, really flat, kind of horizontal looking in at it. This way the light can shine through, you're not shadowed too much, and you can see how well it pulls right up and responds to the movement of the magnet. As I mentioned before, it's pretty cool to watch it. When you keep the magnets close, the slime just keeps piling up and pulling away, makes it almost look like it's alive. Hey, as I mentioned previously, this actually just wipes right off magnets and the acrylic pretty cleanly without leaving any residue behind. That's a really good thing, but you do want to be careful about using this around porous objects. types of different cloth and things like that where it may stick into it a little bit more, or possibly could leach out some of the black color back into a fabric. You just don't want that. Because it's not my nature to leave things well enough alone, we're dialing this in and making batch number 3. We're going to double up the iron oxide, make it just like we did in batch number 1, and what we get is a very aggressive version that just swallows up these magnets. Now when you get the magnet close, you'll get a thicker arm of slime jumping up and grabbing hold, and it will rapidly come up over and engulf the magnet. It's kind of cool to watch. It's actually quite neat just to watch this thing follow along and dance with the magnet as you move it around. And if you're holding a big enough magnet, the slime's going to jump up and pull back with enough force that makes you feel like it's really alive and grabbing back at you. So this slime is definitely a lot of fun with magnets, but you can also use it just like you would any other version of slime that you make. But like those other versions, you definitely don't want to eat this either. So I did make a total of 3 different batches, and if you couldn't guess, this is my favorite batch out of all 3. I like the first batch second best, and the middle one, which I'll explain in a minute why, wasn't quite as good. But this last batch truly is a fun one to play with. To make your new slime last a little bit longer, store it in something that's airtight. Put it in a Ziploc bag, squeeze the air out, and it'll keep for quite a while. I rushed all of these batches from creation to playing, and as you can see with batch number 2, that caused the fluid to leak back out a little bit and separate. So I prefer the first and third. Which batch did you like best? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please press like and then subscribe. There will be more dialed in DIY to come.